Welcome, welcome to our Building Fact Fluency overview. I'm going to use primarily the multiplication and division kit for this demonstration. Go ahead and grab a piece of paper, something to write with. As a math teacher, I always made my students write in pen. That way they couldn't erase their genius and I could always follow their thinking. But you grab whatever you'd like. And while you're grabbing that, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Crystal Atkinson. I'm one of your learning coaches here at Grasslands. I love teaching math, especially elementary math. This whole session is really all about student learning. So how do we know students will be able to, how do we know what students, we're going to look at the gold ring. So what do we want students to know and be able to do? How will we know if each student has learned? How will we respond when a student is not learning or has already learned it? And what instructional practices will I choose? So when we go through this, when we look at the blue ring, this is all about instructional practices. We're going to look at assessment, and you can absolutely use this as an intervention. However, this really does need to be used universally across your classrooms, especially at the elementary level. Okay, so in front of you, make sure you have your Building Fact Fluency kit or your BFF kit. In there, you will find your facilitator guide. There are a couple other books called Image and Tool Talks, and you will also see different manipulatives. Now, both of the kits, regardless of which one, if you're doing the addition and subtraction or multiplication and division, will have the facilitator guide and image and tool talks. They just look different in both of the kits. And you're going to have some manipulatives that are the same and some that are different. So have a look at both of those, especially if you're on a cusp year where you really focus a lot on both of those strategies. Okay, so we're going to break this down. We're going to practice going through the kit as though you are the student and I am the teacher. And I'm going to switch back and forth between facilitating and teaching you about the kit and demonstrating what's in it where you will pretend you are the student. So this is a really great introductory class as kids are transitioning from recess. It just minimizes that transition time, gets kids moving and thinking right away. And this is generally the sequence of tasks that I would recommend doing throughout the course of the week. So you'd start your Monday with a 3-act task. And again, I'm going to demonstrate this, so don't panic when you don't know all of these components yet. Or an image talk. We always start with the image before the tool because images are going to have things like crayons and toys and pizza and different things that students already have background experience. The tool talk, however, are things that we as teachers assume kids have the background with, but they don't necessarily look at a tool that we give them as a teacher and think, oh, that's 57. They look at this and think, oh, this is a string of beads, and I have no idea why my teacher's so crazy. Okay, so that's the difference. We always start with the image talk, then we go into the tool talk. Then about Wednesday, Thursday, you can be working through any of these other tasks. There's a wide variety of them. In your kit, there's number talks, same different cards, card talks, true or false questions, all different kinds of things. You're going to be working through those, like I say, usually Wednesday, Thursday, if we think about what the timeline would look like as a teacher. And then you're going to end your week with a contextualized practice, problem, or core game. Now, once we go into these core games, you're going to see that your kids are going to love them. They're lots of fun. They're great for a sponge activity. It's definitely something that I would have a bin of these games. And whenever students are finished early, I'd be like, just go grab a game and you can play one of them. Really effective. Like I say, kids love them. Okay, so you are the student. I am a teacher. We are going to look first at the 3-act task. In this case, we're going to look at the baker. And when you go into the website, I'll take you for a more detailed tour later. However, for now, what you will see is if I go into here, first thing we do, Act 1 of the 3-act task, watch the video. Okay, so that's it. You can see how quick and easy these videos are. They are the same regardless of which kit they're in. So I'm going to ask you as the student, what did you notice? You might notice that they were really messy, that they should clean up, that, oh, I never thought of using a juice pitcher before to pour my muffin tins. Perhaps you're going to notice that, oh, there's 6 different muffin spots in that tray, and my mom uses 12. Whatever you notice, absolutely everything a kid notices, I take. I'm writing this down on the board the whole time. They are not wrong. You are not wrong with what you notice, okay? This is really low entry. Every single student can participate with this. Then I'll say, what do you wonder? Okay, so shout it out. What do you wonder? Maybe you wonder, well, how many cupcakes are we going to get out of that great big picture? I wonder why they're only making 6 at a time. You get the drift. Whatever the kid wonders is what they wonder, and they are not wrong. Okay, so that was part 1. Then, as a reminder for teachers, we're going to ask the students, what do you notice? What do you wonder? Then we start to lead our students towards some of the thinking we're thinking about. Oh, how many cupcakes will the jug make? Estimate. So give your kids whiteboards, have them write down a number. How many cupcakes will the jug make? What is your strategic choice of number? What's the strategy? And I would just have my students turn and talk. Okay, estimate, turn and talk. Why do you think that number? That whole act 1, 2 minutes tops. Then we're going to go into act 2. Okay, let's see. How many cupcake trays did the jug make? The jug holds 6 trays of cupcakes. They're being tricky there. 6 trays. So how many did we have altogether? 36. Did anybody guess 36? We quickly start to see that background knowledge come to life. You often will have students who will say, well, yeah, when I cook with my mom, we always cook with dozens or whatever. So you start to see that come to life, but not everybody has that background knowledge. Then we proceed to act 3. Okay, last video. Okay, students, what did you notice? Okay, give it that time. Ask, what did you notice? They're going to give you all different kinds of answers. They're going to say, oh, I noticed there's 2 big trays, 2 small trays. Well, there are 6 different colors there with 6 each. I noticed they made a mess in between all of that. I wonder why these ones look more full than these ones. This one looks like it's almost empty. Okay, so whatever they say, they are right. Okay, and each one of these also have it looks the same, a recording sheet. So what did you notice? What did you wonder? Main question. So estimate, how many cupcakes do you think we'll get in all, or muffins do you think we'll get in all? What information do you need? Show your thinking. What I want to reflect on. Now, you can use these. Like I say, I use whiteboards a lot. I love whiteboards and they're super effective. Okay, that is your 3-act task. 10 minutes on a Monday. Okay, next. Okay, students, we are going to do a thinking task today. This will probably be a Tuesday, by the way. Jessie needs to make 144 cupcakes for a bake sale. She has some 1 dozen cupcake tins and some half dozen cupcake tins. How many of each tin will she use? So you're going to give them that. Again, whiteboards are a really great tool to be using. It's low risk. It helps them play with the numbers and come up with different things. Now, there's nothing wrong with using paper, pen, pencil, whatever you have your students use, but give them some time to work through that. Once they have some numbers, you can allow them to start sharing. You can have them turn and talk. Once they have one, you can be like, whew, okay, come write that up on the board. Does anybody have anything different? until all of the different combinations are up there. You can see how this will quickly lead you to like an in-out chart, anything like that. Okay, as a teacher, I want you to think about, how did you feel during these tasks? So we just did a Monday lesson and a Tuesday lesson. How did that feel? How are the tasks set up? What was my role as a teacher in facilitating these tasks? Consider how you can then model that in your own classroom. We are here to facilitate and lead and guide. We are not here to be the people who know everything. We really want to empower our students to be really critical and good thinkers. Okay, next is going to be an image talk. Now, when we go into your kits that you should have in front of you, you will have those image talks in the form of a book. But when I go to the main website here, I can look this up. I'm actually going to go back into my multiplication and division so that we're sticking with the same one. In the top, we've got lesson strings. So I'm going to go down and show you all the different ones here. You can see how they're all things that students connect well with. Okay, now if we are doing, let's say this one, this is my image talk. All of the image talks are the same. They've got 4 to 6 images. You're going to start with one. Students are going to notice really quickly that the images change. So we've got a shoe station here. What do you notice? Notice they're really neat. Notice they're all matching. Notice that they're up really high. I hope there's no little kids in there. Whatever they notice, they are not wrong. Okay, what do you wonder? What do you think will happen next? So they get into the rhythm that something's going to change. It's going to grow or shrink generally. Oh, it doubled. Okay, how do we know it doubled? What does doubled mean? Okay, so you can see how we are going to incorporate that vocabulary into our discussion very organically, very naturally, whatever the students come up with. Okay, so what do we wonder will happen next? Oh, so they're going to talk about, oh, they took all these, they moved them over here. They're still really neat. Nobody's missing a shoe, whatever they come up with. Now, keep in mind, this is the exact same as the little book. So if you have students who are way behind, you could then put them into a small learning group in addition to this, and they could work separately for a few minutes a day doing this without having this up on the smartboard. Okay, so then you can see how that one changes. So that is the layout of all of the image talks. Okay, so what did you see? What did you think? What did you wonder? What has changed? I picked the shoe ones, but how many are there? How do you know that? Whatever questions come to your mind as the teacher, wherever you want to lead them, whatever you're focusing on in your classroom, we're helping students make connections. Here's an example of a true or false question. Okay, so true or false? 12 divided by 6 is equivalent to 12 divided by 2 plus 12 divided by, or 12 divided by 4, sorry, plus 12 divided by 2. Okay, so then kids are going to work through it, show your work, put your answers on the board, all the things. Then we've got our games. Now, like I say, the games are resources that you're going to use. I'm saying right here, they're going to be at the end of the week, but you honestly, you can have them anytime. So here's an example of a core game. There are core games and then optionals for each one of the games in the kits, both the addition and subtraction and the multiplication and division. They're very, very easy. I double side photocopy this. So all the instructions are on one side. Top right-hand corner shows you which materials you have. So this one needs the die with the numeral. Okay, that's not the typical die with the dots, right? And then it looks like here's an 8-sided die as well. So they're going to need 2 different ones. It goes through the instructions. So if you want to have everybody playing the same game, they're working on the same, great. If you want to have a bin of games they can play anytime, they know, okay, these are the materials, this is what I'm going to do in this order. Then the game board is on the other side. Now, the nice thing with this is they are all essentially a connect four. So you can see players A and B alternate until one player gets 4 spaces in a row. Okay, so in here, they're going to roll the die, put the first one here, times it by 2, and the second one there. So you can see they have a few different strategies that they need to be able to use. They're doing mental math with their multiplication, but they're also doing strategy. So you need to make sure you give them time to play multiple games. No different than when you're learning X's and O's, checkers, or chess. Any game of strategy needs to be repeated because that's how you build that part of reasoning in our brains. Okay? And they're all the same. It doesn't matter which kit you're in, which lesson you're doing, they're all a Connect Four, and they're going to practice towards any skill. So you can go ahead and pause the video at any time and practice this, dig into this, see what it means. And again, reach out to any one of us coaches and we will help you with this as well. Okay, so the progression of addition facts. This is the progression of strategies that is taught to our students. They are taught in this order and they also cycle. So you will have like a red lesson, orange, red, orange, red, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, green, and then it will just continue. So you get what I'm talking about there. So that's the addition progression. And then the progression of multiplication facts. Again, same thing is going to happen. You're going to have red, orange, red, orange, red, orange, red, orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow, green, orange, yellow, green. And it's going to cycle and cycle and cycle because here's what happens. Little Crystal gets sick and she missed the tens lesson that week because she was home the whole week. Then she comes back and by golly, we're doing fives. And it's like, what is happening? No worries. We're going to come back to that orange. And in fact, we're going to come back to each one of these multiple times. So when you consider each one of the lessons, I would say about a week per lesson. Okay, vocabulary. All of our students are English language learners in subject-specific language. For example, if I were to say, what is the commutative property in a room full of teachers, most of the teachers probably wouldn't know. Why? That's not their area of specialties. That's not their zone of genius. That's just not their thing. Same as our students. So we need to be really, really intentional with how we teach vocabulary, lots of different ways. First and foremost, use organic conversation. So when you're having those conversations, when you're doing the 3-act tasks and the image talks and the tool talks, whenever a student uses a term, bring it in there. Okay, so you can even expand it within any of those conversations. So if a student says, well, 2, 4, 6, 8 is the same as 4 times 2, or it's skip counting, you could ask the students, oh, do you agree? Did Cam say all of that right? And then they could say, oh, yes, Cam's totally right. And then you can expand that and say, yeah, we call that 2, 4, 6, 8, all of those different numbers that build towards 8, we actually call them factors. They're all factors of 8. Oh, okay. And then I keep going. I don't dwell on it, but I keep going. You can use sentence strings to support vocabulary. And at the end of the day, it's absolutely critical that you always use proper mathematical vocabulary. Okay. So I'm not going to say 3/10. I'm going to say 3/10. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm not going to use that order in fractions. I'm going to use the proper fraction. If you have any questions about that, reach out. We have tons of resources on this. Okay, so if you're like, oh, Crystal, what do I do? Where do I start? How do I do this? There are pacing guides. So you can go onto the website. You can go into your facilitators guides. There's a few different ones in there. Basically, when you are on year 1, so grade 1 for adding and subtracting, you're going to start on lesson 1. When you're at the beginning of teaching multiplication and division, you're going to start on lesson 1 in that book. If you are further along, so perhaps your grade 3s need some addition and subtraction, and starting into the multiplication and division, you are going to start where it feels most appropriate, keeping in mind that if it's a bit of review for somebody who already knows it, it's not going to hurt them. This is not a long lesson, right? This is a few minutes tops to just get our students engaged in whatever it is we are teaching about. And you can see the page numbers there for the multiplication and division box, different samples that you can use to guide you along the way. Okay, assessment. So 3-act tasks have those recording sheets. I've already shown you those. The Building Fact Fluency game players also have record sheets. You can take those in. You have got conferencing and the website, and you can watch that entire video. It's about an hour long, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This one is under the addition and subtraction kit. So if you go under my account, if you have both kits registered in your email, it's under addition and subtraction. And it's this one here with Graham Fletcher himself. It is fantastic. So your implementation videos are here. Scroll down, you've got some more information. Everything that you need to know is here, okay? So I'll just take you for a quick tour through this while we have this open. Beside implementation are the lesson strings. So again, this is the addition and subtraction, but you can see when I scroll down here, it is the exact same as going into your account, pulling up the multiplication and division, go under lesson strings, you can see how they look the exact same, okay? So like I say, it's very easy when you're using one kit to switch over to another. You don't have to relearn a system. Everything is quite next to the lesson strings in the multiplication kit are the different factors. So you could say, oh, my students are really struggling on threes. Here are the lessons that go with the threes. Then perhaps you want to build a game center. Everything is in here. You can just go in and print the game boards. If you're like, oh, I'm not really sure how to play anything, you can go in and watch it as well. Everything is very, very, very user friendly in both of the sites. So hopefully that is really helpful to you. Now, as you go through this, what else do you need to find out? What do you need to explore? What excites you about the kits? What do you think you're going to start using right away? And then what are you going to do next? What's your next steps? What do you need help with? That is what your coaches are here for. You email us, we will come and help you implement all of this. You are going to have fun. It's super easy, it's super quick. It doesn't take a whole lot to get this up and running, but you will find that your students will grow really, really quick as you develop these strategies in them in an order that makes sense to their little growing